over it. Not that Skyrim doesn't have a consistent tone, but I just feel like you can. I always prefer like go and try and make it as much like I try and make it as crazy as possible, then like dial it back for casuals or whatever. Like start from that point rather than going, oh, we've got to make it casuals first. Dial it back. I feel like it is a better way, like peeling back some layers of the craziness. And the same approach to lore. And sometimes it's good.
The same approach to life.
Yeah.
Subtraction.
Yeah.
Yeah!
So, yeah. But there you go. There's the list. You want to give it one more read?
Alright, one last read for everyone. So, in position number 1, Dunlop. 2 Norse, 3 the Khajiit, 4 Bosma, the Wood Elves, 5 Red Guard, 6 Argonians, 7 Orcs, 8 the High Elves, 9 Bretons, and 10 the Imperials.
Yeah, that's a good list. I feel like, I don't know why, I feel like it's a very democratic list. Like, I feel like a lot of people should be like, besides like one or something, they'll be like generally like agree with it, I think. But we'll see in the comments below.
That's it. So thank you everyone so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Keep watching the podcast, sharing the podcast, liking the podcast, and let us know what you think.
And you gotta do it, you gotta say, and we'll be back to nerd out with you again.
Okay.
Next
and
time.
we'll be back to nerd out with you again very soon.
Bye.
Oh my goodness.
Dispersed to other southern and western lands, but tensions arose amid rumours that a new wave of settlers, Ysgramor and his Atmorans, began claiming that this land was their ancestral home. It seems these Proto-Nords were emboldened by their proximity to Atmora, meaning that, if they refused to submit to Elven dominance, they could call upon human reinforcements who were ready to sail south across the Sea of Ghosts. Still, there was no catalyst for all-out war, at least until the Night of Tears. One of the first major Nordic settlements in Skyrim was a city named Sarfall, and Sarfall was where this Night of Tears took place. But to this day, the reason for the sudden Falmer hostility is debated. The Pocket Guide to the Empire suggests that the Snow Elves were intimidated by Sarfall's growth. It claims the elves saw that the vital young race would soon surpass their stagnant culture.
Idiot.
However, the book titled Night of Tears asserts that the elves of the Malefic era, along with their counterparts, the early Dwemer, possessed a degree of sophistication unparalleled in Tamriel. They displayed power beyond what could be expected of the time. In my opinion, this claim is more plausible, as it's actually substantiated by physical evidence. We have no proof of envious snow elves, but we do have omnipresent proof of elven sophistication. Technology found in eras-old Dwemer ruins is still unrivaled to the modern day. Dwemeri, Aelid and Falmer architecture inspires awe thousands of years after construction, and the Falmer statue hidden deep underground gives us a small insight into the ingenuity of the Snow Elves. Had Sarfall been built in a different location, the Night of Tears may never have happened, and the Snow Elves may have coexisted with the Nords. But Sarfall stands where it does, and deep underground, the Atmoran settlers excavated an artifact of immense power, the Eye of Magnus. The Falmer learned what the Nords had discovered, and couldn't let such a powerful relic fall into the hands of men. Some say the Snow Elves coveted the Eye for themselves, and this was the catalyst for the brutal assault. But whatever the case, the Snow Elves came in the dead of night, and massacred every soul in Sarfall. The only human survivors were Ysgramor and his sons. When the Nords returned from Atmora, they kept the Eye buried deep below the earth and sealed away, suggesting that the Snow Elves were the ones who wished to utilize the artifact's power, not the Atmorans who found it. Either way, the Night of Tears set in motion the fate of the Falmer race. Ysgramor returned to Atmora with his sons, and they scoured the frozen north for the greatest warriors mankind had to offer. They were the 500 companions, and they were galvanized by the desire to avenge the Night of Tears. The companions would go on to achieve a great deal, paving the way for a prosperous empire of Nords. But this isn't their story. As they tore across Skyrim, Ysgramor's warriors wiped out every elf they encountered. It was systematic and unstoppable, and eventually the Snow Elves were forced to retreat to Solstheim, where they gathered for one final stand against the overwhelming onslaught of Atmorans. The war culminated with the Battle of the Mosring on the slopes of Solstheim's Mosring mountain range. And here is where we learn about the leader of the Snow Elves, the fabled Snow Prince, who rode into battle on a brilliant steed.
What the fuck? Go!
Lochheim, the scribe to a Nordic chieftain named Ingjaldr White-Eye, documented the events of the battle, and by his description, the Snow Prince was such an imposing presence that it sparked doubt in the confident Nords. The Nords knew this battle would be bloody, but they also knew their foes were doomed to extinction. Yet the Snow Prince commanded the attention of both sides. Such was his might. Lochheim writes, "Elf we called him, for elf he was, yet unlike any other of his kind we had ever seen before that day. His spear and armour bore the radiant and terrible glow of unknown magicka, and so adorned, this unknown rider seemed more white than warrior. What troubled, nay, frightened us at that moment was the call that rose from the elven ranks. It was not fear, not wonder, but an unabashed and unbridled joy, the kind of felicity felt by a damned man who has been granted a second chance at life. For at that time the elves were as damned and near death as ever they had been during the great skirmishes of Solstheim. The Battle of the Mosring was to be the final stand between Nord and Elf on our fair island. Led by Isgramor, we had driven the Elven Scourge from Skyrim, and were intent on cleansing Solstheim of their kind as well. Our warriors, armed with the finest axes and swords Nord craftsmen could forge, cut great swaths through the enemy ranks. The slopes of the Mosring ran red with elf blood. Why then would our foe rejoice? Could one rider bring such hope to an army so hopeless? In their elven tongue, they were exclaiming, "The Snow Prince is come, doom is at hand." Like a sudden, violent blizzard that rends travellers blind and threatens to tear loose the very foundations of the sturdiest hold, the Snow Prince did sweep.
Beginning launch sequence. Not forget this day. We will be waiting.